something that people, at least women, we like to think about this. I think men like to think about this, although sometimes I'm not so sure that it doesn't just overwhelm them. What are the most common areas of contention between people and the real disconnect between men and women on the issue of relationship?
I would say that the first thing that normally takes place is the fact that somebody in the relationship is giving more than the other person. And so someone sort of feels that they're being shortchanged. And so in reality, there has to be a balance in the relationship. Both people have to give, completely of the heart. It shouldn't be a selfish type of thing. It shouldn't be a tit for tat. It shouldn't be that I'm giving to you, so therefore you should give to me. And so that's the number one problem, is that someone in the relationship seems to be giving more.
And you say, and I think this is really interesting, and I can't say that I've heard a lot of other experts say this, so that's why I want to bring this specific area of expertise to your attention. You say that women tend to overgive in relationships, that this is one of the common mistakes that women make. First of all, why do they do it? And secondly, what's the outcome? Why is that a mistake? You think that, aren't we both supposed to give 200%, right?
Well, it's true that we're supposed to give and even outgive in a sense. But what happens is, majority of the time, a woman is so enamored in the relationship that she kind of thinks, if I just keep doing this and this and this for him, he's just gonna love me more. And the truth of the matter is the less she gives, in essence, it kindles the relationship on his side, that in his heart is kindled just purely and naturally. But if she says, well, I'm going to give him some trinkets, I'm going to do this for him, I'm going to just baby him to death and do all these kinds of things, what happens, he has a tendency to take it for granted. And so it's important that it should be balanced. I mean, the woman shouldn't be giving more than the guy is giving her. You'll find that most women are giving so much to a guy that the guy's not giving really anything to her. And so unfortunately what happens is it's sort of like the woman is now chasing the guy. She's sort of doing these things.
Because that's what this really comes down to. This comes down to the nature, and I guess one of the reasons I get so impatient with so many experts in the field of psychology today saying that men and women are really just alike, that there's really no difference between them, because that's not true. Women were born and created to be nurturers, and so you're saying that the women in the relationship are doing their natural thing. They are nurturing.
Absolutely.
That's what we do. And you're saying that the man wants to do what he is naturally born to do, and that is to be the hunter-gatherer. You know, he wants to be the pursuer. He wants to be the man. In a culture that has so emasculated men, how do we as women speak to that? How do we be the answer to this society that has taken so much masculinity away from men today?
Well, I think, number one, women have done that. They've kind of shot themselves in the foot, because basically women are chasing after men, okay? And so what happens is it's in a man's DNA to chase after the woman. You're correct. He's made to chase after the woman, and the woman, in essence, is made to run. She doesn't have to do all of these crazy, nutty things to get the guy. All she has to do is be herself and be alluring. She's the seductress. She has that in her DNA to be able to woo him in that manner.
Goes back to Adam and Eve.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. But what happens is that women have a tendency that they feel that they need to do more. Because of that nurturing, as you mentioned, they have to do something.
But men aren't children, and if you treat them like children and you nurture them too much, you're going to end up with a big child, not attractive.
You're going to be the mother.
Never the goal.
You're going to be the mother, and you're going to have a hard time, because then, of course, he's just wanting to breastfeed all the time, and that's all he's going to do.
Not the goal.
Absolutely. But the thing about it is again, it comes back down to balance, and it comes back to an incredible principle. And that is, because men are hunters and men do seek after, it's kindled in their heart that love. And see, women have a tendency to think, if I just do this and this, he's just going to love me more.
Right.
And no, he has to be able to generate that emotion, that feeling, that love naturally. And so if the woman does all of these things, what she's doing is she's not letting that seed, that desire of love to be cultivated inside of him. And so what happens is it doesn't ever bloom in the right way.
I love this because I always think that God dwells in the realm of irony. And I think this is an ironic realm right here that we're talking about, because women are thinking, if I just give more, if I just do more, he's going to love me. But really, what you're saying is a little bit of mystery is a good thing, that a little bit of letting him be the man and pursue you is a good thing. And ultimately, what it really comes down to is leaving that little piece of mystery out there, even though it might not make sense to you as a woman, so that he can fill in some of that space, because where our treasure is, our heart is. And if he's investing in you, someone said to me once, we don't love people for how they love us. We love people for how we've loved them. Isn't that crazy? And that's such a different approach than most people would think on the surface. That's why it's ironic.
Well, men do have to lead. And what happens is, because where the economy has changed, society has changed, and women are starting to be leaders in things. But the unfortunate thing is that a man is really to lead. Now, of course, I don't want to get any hate mail here, but it's true. It's just the foundation. It's that dynamic that makes it work. If you have two bosses, running a household, it just doesn't work. It crumbles. It falls apart.
That's right.
But if you have, in essence, allow the man to be the man in the relationship, the woman doesn't know it, but he's going to treat her like his queen. You see, if she makes him her hero, he's going to do all of those things to take care of her, to bless her, to love her. But what happens is she starts to become this dominating force, demanding, you got to do this and you got to do that. And unfortunately, it starts to crumble.
I think the other element of that, Candace, if I'm correct, is I see a lot of friends of mine, when they really like a man, they want to make sure that he's being loyal. They want to make sure. So they're all in his business all the time. Men don't like that either, do they? Men, and I think the other element of that is the women who won't let their husband, boyfriend, whatever, go have a guy's night out. I think all those things, just giving them that space in their personal dealings. If we're crying out loud, don't be searching through their emails. If you're the jealous wife who's on the other end, worried about, this pretty woman who's around your husband, my husband spent his whole life around beautiful women, and I just find it awesome that he comes home to me. And I think if you just think about it like that, rather than channeling your energy on making sure there's nothing going wrong, then ultimately less will go wrong. Is that a crazy thought?
Well, I think if you have to watch the person you're with all the time, like under a glass.
Who can do that?
Well,
who has the time for that?
Absolutely.
And how are you a whole person if your life is about watching another person? That doesn't even.
Well, if you have to watch the person, as I was saying, what's the point? Because then you're babysitting. You're becoming the nanny.
The mom again.
And the mom.
The mom again.
But you're also showing how insecure you are in the relationship.
Exactly.
And then what happens is you're opening the door right there for other things, other elements to come into the relationship that are not good.
Exactly.
Because you're harassing the relationship. I mean, there's a lot of jealous women, unfortunately, their husbands are completely, totally faithful, but they don't believe that.
But they push them away by the constant accusation. So it's just, to me, it's just never the realm to go unless you have evidence. And then I think don't be naive. But certainly I think that that's one way that I do see a lot of women just sort of pushing their guy away. And again, creating that child-parent mentality rather than that equal partner love relationship with a man who's supposed to be a man and a woman who's supposed to be a woman. It really is about understanding our roles, isn't it, Candace?
Well, the last thing I think any woman really wants is a little boy that she has to take care of.
Yeah.
I don't think at all, any kind of way, that a woman wants to be in a relationship where she has to babysit. And I don't think a guy wants to be in a relationship where he has to babysit either. But it has to be a maturity. I think if two people come together by mutual agreement, they both have this passion, they have this exuberance, they have this amorous love, then that alone is going to sustain the relationship.
So no smothering, no being all up in his business, no mothering for sure, and keeping it based on what God created as a man and a woman and how the relationship is supposed to be. Candace Chambers, we appreciate you being in studio today.